Good morning and welcome to today's praise service. You're very welcome. Today's title is called Nobody Met Jesus at Church. There's an interesting reality woven through the Gospels. Very few people first met Jesus in a religious setting. They met him on dusty roads, beside fishing boats, in homes, at work, around dinner tables, at wells and in crowds. They met him in grief, in failure, and often in desperation. The Gospels show us that Jesus was constantly moving towards people in public places. While synagogues and the temple had their place, the transforming encounters with Jesus often happened far from those formal religious places. This is both interesting and significant because today many people think that meeting God is mostly connected with entering a church building. When we take the time to look at the life of Jesus, we discover something different. Jesus steps directly into everyday life. He enters homes, workplaces, streets, conversations, disappointments, and private struggles. He meets people where they live their lives. Today, in the 21st century, church gatherings are vital for spiritual encouragement and development. They are places of worship, praise, teaching, fellowship, prayer, encouragement, and witness. The church strengthens believers and makes every effort to proclaim Jesus Christ to the world. But the Jesus of the Bible and the Jesus of today is not confined to a building. He's still walking the streets of human experience, still calling names, still opening the eyes of spiritually blind, still sitting with sinners, still changing lives. The title of this message is, as I've said, Nobody Met Jesus at Church. That's not because church is unimportant, but because, one, there were no Christian churches when Jesus walked this earth. Secondly, today Jesus is far more active in the world around us than many people seem to realise. In Luke chapter 19, verses 1 to 10, we read that Jesus entered Jericho. Among the crowds was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and very wealthy. To many people, that description of tax collector defined him as being corrupt and spiritually unclean. Yet something inside Zacchaeus was restless. Verse 3 says he wanted to see who Jesus was. That's one of the great statements in the Bible. Underneath the wealth, the status, the public reputation, there was a man searching for something that was missing in his abundant and luxurious life. Now, because he was a short man, it says that he climbed a sycamore tree just to catch a glimpse of Jesus. And then something remarkable happened. Jesus stopped right under the tree where Zacchaeus was. He looked upwards and called Zacchaeus by name. Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. Notice where Jesus chose to meet him. Not at the synagogue, not during a ceremony, not in a formal religious setting. Jesus invited himself into Zacchaeus' house. The home is one of the most revealing places in a person's life. Public appearances can and often are managed. Religious appearances can easily be a performance, but the home is often our reality. It's where people keep their pride, carry their burdens, relationships are held, fears, regrets, loneliness, and habits are hidden. And Jesus enters that space with Zacchaeus. Now, the crowd immediately criticized Jesus. He's gone to be the guest of a sinner. Religion often asks, why would Jesus go there? Grace asks, where else would he go? Christ didn't avoid sinners, he pursued them. Something happened inside Zacchaeus during that time, and we aren't given any details of the conversation, but we read of the impact that time with Jesus. Zacchaeus stood up and declared, Behold, Lord, half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. A changed heart produced a changed life. Jesus then said, "Today salvation has come to this house." What a statement! Salvation entered a house, and more accurately, the man of the house. A household was altered because Jesus crossed the threshold. Many people today think they must first get themselves together before coming to Christ. Zacchaeus teaches us the opposite. Jesus comes towards imperfect people. He steps into complicated homes. He meets individuals in the middle of their moral confusion and personal failure. Some homes today are filled with tension. Some are filled with silence. Some with anxiety, addiction, conflict, exhaustion, or spiritual emptiness. How can somewhere be filled with emptiness, you ask? It's a strange statement. That's a very common reality. Christ is not repelled by broken households. He still says, "I must stay at your house today." Sometimes salvation begins not in a sanctuary, but around a kitchen table, beside a hospital bed, or during a private conversation at home. In John chapter 9, Jesus and his disciples are walking along the street when they came across a man blind from birth. Again, notice the setting. This isn't a synagogue service. It's an ordinary street on an ordinary day. The disciples immediately ask a theological question. "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" They wanted an explanation. Jesus wanted restoration. There's a profound difference between analysing suffering and entering in compassionately. The disciples saw a theological problem, while Jesus saw a man. We classify people with labels, failures, appearances, addictions, politics, economics, or outward limitations. But Christ sees beyond categories. He sees our soul. Jesus answered them, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in him." Do you see what Jesus did? He reframed the entire situation. The blind man's condition became a platform for divine transformation. Then Jesus did something deeply personal and unusual. He spat on the ground, made clay, and anointed the man's eyes, and then told him to go and wash in the pool of Siloam. The man obeyed and came back with 20/20 vision. Imagine the shock of that moment. A man who had only known darkness suddenly saw light. Faces, movement, colour, sky, and life itself. It happened in the street. This miracle again reminds us that Jesus meets people in public places, in the movement of ordinary life. He encounters people during routines, interruptions, and difficult seasons of life. Many conversations and spiritual awakenings begin this way. Some hear a conversation. Someone opens a Bible unexpectedly. Someone listens to a sermon online. Someone encounters a Christian co-worker. Someone prays in desperation while driving alone. Jesus is not restricted to scheduled religious moments. We live in a wounded world. Anxiety, depression, isolation, confusion, and disappointments are everywhere. Many people are functioning outwardly but spiritually broken. They move through crowded streets while carrying deep internal darkness. And Jesus still walks those streets. The church gatherings equip believers, strengthen faith, and proclaim truth. But believers themselves are sent into daily life as witnesses of Christ. Christianity was never designed to remain inside the walls of a building. The gospel moves outward, gathering in worshippers and scattering witnesses. What about Matthew chapter 9, verses 9 to 13? Jesus met Matthew at work and simply said, "Follow me." After Matthew followed Jesus, he hosted a gathering in his house with many tax collectors and sinners. Predictably, the Pharisees objected. But Christ didn't come to pacify or to congratulate the righteous. He came to rescue the broken. The modern church can become too inward-looking if it's not careful. We can become occupied with programs, schedules, preferences, and internal concerns while forgetting that Christ spent much of his ministry among ordinary people in ordinary settings. The church was and is strongest when it gathers faithfully and moves outward in mission. So what does that mean for us? Well, it doesn't mean church gatherings are unnecessary, or else we all look a little bit stupid this morning. The Bible clearly teaches the importance of believers coming together. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25. Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another. Church is where believers worship collectively, hear the word of God, pray together, encourage one another, break bread, and grow spiritually. But increasingly, we must recognise that the primary mission field exists outside the building, and the church is not meant to replace Christian witness in daily life. It's meant to strengthen it. The early church spread because believers carried Christ everywhere they went, and Christianity was never designed to be contained within a few weekly meetings. Today, Jesus meets people. In homes filled with tension, in streets filled with suffering, in workplaces filled with pressure, Jesus meets people in hospitals, in schools, in prisons, in coffee shops. Jesus meets people in refugee camps, in villages, in cities, in moments of collapse and in moments of searching. Jesus said himself, I came to seek and to save that which was lost, and he still does that. Some people are waiting for the perfect religious moment before seeking God, but Christ may already be much closer than you realise. He may be speaking through conviction, through the Bible, through suffering, through a Christian friend, through an unexpected conversation, or through a growing hunger in your soul. Nobody met Jesus at church, at least not at first, but he does meet people in real life. And the church, at its best, becomes a gathering of people who have met Jesus in real life and now assemble to worship him, to learn from him, and to go back into the world carrying his light. So let's never limit Christ to a building. Let us worship faithfully in church. Let us strengthen one another in fellowship. Let us proclaim the truth boldly. But let us also remember the same Jesus who met Zacchaeus at home, the blind man on the street, and Matthew at work. He is still working through the ordinary places of daily life, and he is still changing lives to those who will ask him into their life.